everybody, Brendan the Blind Guy here. Now, ready now? Because this right here is as precious as stolen diamonds and brighter than gold. And God, I love days like these when I get to break down the barricades and get to know amazing artists who are still young, 20 years on, in their career. Ladies, gentlemen, fishies, wolves, bulls, and everyone else, the Cat Empire's Felix. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. Good.
Oh, thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure.
Oh, heck. So 20 years, that's a pretty incredible milestone.
We haven't quite reached 20 years officially yet. We are. I think we're celebrating 20 years in 2021, and we're going to have a big celebration for that.
Oh, okay. Well, on Wikipedia it said 1999, so someone's going to have to update that.
Well, they could update that. That's true. I mean, in some ways, when in 1999, Ollie and I got together, and we were in school, and we had the idea of putting something together, and I was playing percussion, he was playing keys. It was very, very instrumental, and so sorry.
That's all right.
Something in my throat. Yeah, in 1999, Ollie was and I were just messing around, and then Ryan, we got to know Ryan, and it was a trio, and we're doing a couple of gigs, and we called that the Cat Empire. But it wasn't really until 2 years later that we actually put together a proper band that started doing the shows that people know as the Cat Empire. So, yeah, 2021 is the 20th anniversary.
Oh, very nice. Okay, so you guys fuse. Let's see if I can get all these genres.
Oh, please don't.
Oh.
You know
I
why?
am people.
You can get all of those genres, but
okay.
People always think they call us a ska band. They call us like
jazz
and Latin.
ska,
It's just like ugh.
rock.
I don't know what it. Yeah, all of those things. It doesn't really matter. Like I think the thing about the Cat Empire that is great is the people who come to it.
Yeah.
And they come with a sense of occasion, and somehow them bringing that sense of occasion and us doing the chaotic sound that we are creates a sort of a festival in a night sort of thing, you know, and that has a lot of different feelings to it, but it isn't a combination of all of those genres. In some ways, the reason why the band has been had such longevity and has been so interesting both for us and for the audiences is because we still don't know how to describe it. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it. And whenever people rattle off those names, I go like, ugh.
It's a party, people. That's pretty much what it is. So, okay. And it's very Latin infused. Like it's got a very Latin edge. Like I still can't do the hello. I really can't.
Neither can I anymore.
Well.
But I mean, look, yeah, it's true. We did a show in. Not a show. We did an album in Cuba.
Oh yeah.
In Havana, and Ollie and I, from the very very early days, were fascinated by African Latin music, especially West African music, but Afro-Cuban music was really a big thing for us. And you know the bands like Buena Vista and Afro-Cuban All-Stars and Chucho Valdez and all of these amazing Latin musicians that we got to know at a very young age. I mean, relatively young, sort of mid-teens and things. Somehow made their way into our imagination, and so for our second album we wanted to go to Havana, and we met a lot of the Buena Vista Social Club and the Afro-Cuban All-Stars, and it was just it's just always been part of the Cat Empire's sort of makeup, yeah.
Because I was wondering, I noticed that apparently you spent a lot of your childhood over in Europe. Did that kind of influence the music, you know, the Latin and all of these, you know, really colourful styles?
It could have. I mean, I have my father's side in Europe is mostly classical musicians. He's not particularly musical himself. My mum was pretty encouraging of us to learn to read and to practice our instruments and things growing up. My little sister's a classical pianist, my little brother's a classical singer. But look, I think the band's had an international career because the sound does cross borders, you know, and like I said, it's got that sort of mysterious thing where we played great shows in Europe. We've played fantastic shows in South America as well. And somehow those people think that we're an Australian band and Australians think that we've got something from overseas. We seem to sort of be at home everywhere and not quite exist anywhere, quite musically speaking. We're kind of chameleons, you know, in that way. But we still have a strong connection to Australia, and that combination of sounds, whatever makes up the Cat Empire, is still from Australia. You know, we got to know a lot of those styles, you know, growing up in Melbourne, and a lot of those musicians who influenced us, and so I don't know. It's just got this really colourful feeling to it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're here at the Metro Theatre in Sydney tonight because you're on tour for your 8th album, Stolen Diamonds, which of course features the track Stolen Diamonds, Keela, and Oscar Wilder. The song, not the person.
If it featured him, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
What he'd be like on stage? He'd be amazing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so with the album, so what would you say, like, musically and lyrically, what has changed and also what stayed consistent?
It's a good question. I think maybe when we did Steal the Light, we started working with Jan Skubiszewski, who's also done Rising with the Sun and Stolen Diamonds. And I think we rediscovered a kind of a commitment to writing songs that would leave the studio and go straight out onto a really magic festival stage and stand up, be really tough. And we sort of wanted to say, when we're recording, is this song going to be, great in that space? And I think in that way, it wasn't so much about what style that song was or anything. It was about, does it have that atmosphere? Does it have that little spark that's going to make people excited to see us, excited to make us want to play this sort of music and play live like we do. So I think working with Jan and the last 3 albums have been really good like that. And your question, what is stayed the same, what's changed? I mean, what's changed is we're probably more assured of our instincts in the studio, I think, and probably more assured of our capability to play our instruments and perform and things like that. We still try to keep it as spontaneous as we can, but we have a bit more of a sense of, an arc of a show. We have a lot more songs to choose from. A lot has stayed the same and a lot has changed, and I'm not quite sure what those things are exactly. But It's like that song in Ready now. It says, things change, but there's a love that stays the same, and I think that love is probably in the live space and in our supporters. And while that's there, it's still an exciting band to be part of.
Okay. So, as I said, we're at the Metro Theatre tonight, and it is because they're actually performing. We're not just going, this is a cool place to do an interview. So, I actually witnessed one of your...
It's place to do an interview, isn't it?
It might be a bit expensive to hire out the Metro just to do an interview, but you never know. Yeah. Next time, maybe at Macca's.
At Macca's,
yeah. Well, so... I saw you, blind pun intended, in 2016 at the Entrance Leagues Club, and that was one hell of a show. But for people who haven't been to a Cat Empire show, from your perspective, when you walk out onto the stage, what is the Cat Empire show all about?
The Cat Empire show is all about really, really celebrating the exchange of live musicians and an audience who almost becomes like an extra member of the band, whatever that is, between the stage and the audience, celebrating something, having a good time. It's a dynamic space, it's a colourful space. You want to wake up, when you go to a new city. You want to be with people who wake you up as a musician, and you want to wake them up as a musician and have some fun. I mean, this band started because we were having fun, not in that sort of cheesy way, but in a way that this is exciting. It's like surfing, or it's like something. It was just like to play live music and to be in that space. It was like a rush.
Yeah.
And 18 years in, it's still a rush, but it's a rush because the audience has stayed fresh and because we've been able to make albums and do things that are interesting. And I think that's what people come for. I've mentioned it a fair bit, but the coinciding of us waking up on stage and them being woken up and coming back because it's a good thing. Yeah. That's live music. That's music in general.
Yeah.
Music's a good thing. It brings people together.
Oh, definitely. I couldn't agree more.
It's a trip for musicians to spend a life in that space because it's really addictive.
Yeah, well, definitely. So, okay. Well, going back to the beginning, I'm a cat lover. I'm a crazy cat man myself. But where does the name the Cat Empire actually come from?
Oh, look, the Cat Empire name, from memory, came from a picture that my 8-year-old or 9-year-old brother drew at the time. And he was, it was just a picture of 3 cats, they were gangsters, and it said the Cat Empire on it. And it even had a kind of shadow of what the logo was on there. He was a bit of a genius, my 8-year-old brother, and we were young musicians. We were just paying our rent, you know, doing gigs, and this was myself, Ollie, and Ryan in the first instance of the Cat Empire as a trio, you know. And we had a first show somewhere, probably at a gallery opening or just somewhere like some old warehouse, and we said, "Oh, what are we going to be called?" And we looked at the fridge, and there was this picture my little brother had drawn and said the Cat Empire. So we said, "Oh, it'll be the Cat Empire," and it stuck.
Yeah, wow. It was fate. It was meant to be.
Well, I kind of believe in that sort of stuff. I mean, whether you call it fate or not. I mean, the thing about music is that a band's ready to be a band when the name comes seamlessly, you know, when it sort of arrives.
Yeah.
It sort of names itself, and you just hold on for the ride after that. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Well, I noticed via email that you guys are very active, not just in the studio and on stage, but you do a lot of fundraisers, I think, for homelessness, is it? Or refugees?
We worked with the SRC for a long time, the Asylum Seeker Resource Centre, and we did several events for them, and they're a great operation, fantastic people who work there. We're now working with Children's Grant, and Children's Grant work in First Nations education, but from a very young age. And Jane Badabaloo, who's one of the heads of that organisation, is a great friend of mine. They do fantastic work. They work a lot in the Aranda community of Alice Springs, and it's a sort of work where it may create structural change by the research that they're doing, and they're very First Nations oriented, insofar as not assuming that education principles have to be all Western and things like that. And I really believe in what they're doing, and we're happy to support them. So a portion of the ticket sales for this tour are going to them, and we'll do some good events with them moving forward. I think they're a great group.
Wow, that's fantastic. Now, I reckon it's time we get exclusive, Felix. Just me and you. And all of the viewers, of course. So, what would you say an exclusive fun fact is about yourself?
An exclusive fun fact?
Yeah. Could be anything.
Just a funny detail about me. Is that what you're after?
Juicier the better.
The juicier the better. I'm terrible at these sorts of things. What can I say? I think I recently came to the conclusion I can make a room messy almost instantaneously. So when I go into a hotel room, I can honestly create a mess within the first 30 seconds. I can also lose my plane ticket between the point where you pass through the gate and you get to the actual aeroplane. I managed to lose my ticket several times.
Oh, wow.
Just in there, it just disappears. They're not particularly juicy, but they are.
Yeah.
Fairly boring fun facts about me that people.
Well, what's a guilty pleasure?
A guilty pleasure of mine. I can watch relatively average crime television all day long.
Oh.
Quite happily, you know, when I'm not working. Yeah, that's a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
It's not so guilty actually. I generally feel pretty bloody good lying on the couch all day when I've finished a tour or something like that.
Yeah, well, very nice. Now it's time for my favourite question of all. That's right, people. It's funniest cat video on YouTube time. Just kidding. It's WTF time, people. So, Felix, you must have some pretty priceless moments on your music career. But which one takes the cake as being the most hilarious, priceless WTF?
Oh, look, there have been a couple. The one that immediately jumps into my mind is back in the early days of the band, we were playing at the Edinburgh Festival.
Yep.
And we playing this show called Late and Live. We're there for about 3 weeks straight, playing every night.
Wow.
We'd end up starting at about 3 and finishing at about 6 and 7 in the morning, sort of thing like that. It was a sort of tour that really shaped us as a band in a way, because we had to really learn how to play. But the funny thing about it was that we played after these comedians, and really good comedians, you know, like Daniel Kitson and the Fight of the Concords guys and the Mighty Boosh people, and Noel Fielding would come in, like really people who went on to be amazing, you know, very, very well-respected comedians. Late and Live was this thing where it would be this kind of comedy stand-up thing, and like the crowd, they were vicious, totally vicious, and a comedian would either like totally triumph, or they would get completely shot down by this kind of like really vicious audience in Scotland. And anyway, we'd play after them, and this as the the sort of time got on, everyone started getting really strange. And there was this one night, these things that happened where we'd start playing at the end of the comedy routine. And I think Daniel Kitson brought out two of the comedians. They were naked and drunk on stage. And then they started to wrap each other in gaffer tape. While Daniel Kitson thought it was the funniest thing ever. They were having like this fight over the drums, wrapping each other in gaffer tape. And it was there like, you know, playing along kind of thing. It was a very, very bizarre scene, and it was very strange. And then Daniel Kitson introduced the band, and then, you know, we kicked off and played for the next 3 hours, and, you know, went to bed at 10 or 11 in the morning sort of thing. It was just, it's just a funny old time, man. But if you want a what the fuck moment, then that's probably a fairly...
Yeah, wow, that is...
I can't think of much stranger stuff that's happened. There've been several strange things that have happened to us, but that's a pretty odd one.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely comes under the WTF category. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting today, and I can't wait to catch you out on stage. But we'll leave it with one more. For all of your adoring fans out there, the camera woman included, so what would you like to say to all of us fans that have been following you guys for nearly 20 years?
Oh, I would like to say it's been a real pleasure, and thanks for being part of it and being on the ride with us. And I mean, I mentioned it in this interview that the sense of festivity that you bring, the sense of generosity is well and truly the reason why this band is still together. And these are our Australian fans as well as the fans overseas. That sense of live uptake is been very much part of the spirit of the band from the outset. And so, yeah, thanks for being part of it, and we'll keep on doing it as long as we can.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, and again, I can't wait to catch you out on stage. Thank you so much, mate.
Pleasure, man. No problems.
Cheers.